Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to my Wild Rift tier list for patch 4.1c. This is the final cycle for the tier list for patch 4.1. There was not that many changes in 4.1c, but I think there are quite a few changes, especially in the support role and also the mid role, because of all the mages that got buffed, all of the support buffs that happened as well, especially to Lux. And I think a lot of these changes might surprise you, but they are very, very exciting for the game and for the meta. Obviously, if you are excited for patch 4.2, make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you like the video, and I am running a giveaway at the moment as well. I will leave the links down in the description for the YouTube video link and also for the social media link for Twitter. So make sure you head on over there, join the giveaway, because I'll be giving away a bunch of random skin chests for the month of May. Right, let's head into the tier list. In terms of Baron Lane, not much has changed, to be honest with you. Baron Lane has pretty much stayed the exact same. There were some changes that happened to some champions. Gwen did get a little bit of a change this patch. I still think Gwen is very, very strong in the Baron lane. I think someone actually did some sort of maths and everything behind the Gwen changes and actually found out that the passive nerf was actually quite a lot. So maybe this might change. Maybe the passive damage maybe might put Gwen down in terms of tiers and in terms of damage. But I think the buff on her third ability is really, really nice. Gives her a lot more mobility in lane. Gives her a lot more power in lane as well, because when she uses her third ability, she gets a little bit more damage, more attack speed. So I think that will help her in the laning phase. Again, her damage numbers have been nerfed a little bit, but I think the extra attack speed and the extra damage that you get from your third ability, with that being put on cooldown for a lesser amount of time now, I think that change kind of evens things out for Gwen. So I still think she'll be in a very, very good spot. As for the other S Plus champions, everything again pretty much stayed the exact same. Nothing's really changed in the Baron lane. I think the meta's kind of stale now in the Baron lane. You know, Wukong's still really strong, because he offers a lot in team fights. He trades a lot, trades very well in the laning phase, has a lot of healing. Renekton, because of his early game power and how strong he is in the laning phase. Akali late game scaling, absolutely insane. Great assassin to play in the Baron lane. Jackson Fiora, split push beasts. Both Jackson Fiora, both can just split push to pretty much oblivion at this point, because of how strong Hullbreaker is. Twin Guard, Divine Sunderer, both these two champions are very, very strong. Jay's still very powerful as well, because of his combos, because allowing him to get 6 abilities pretty much at the start of the game. Pretty much a level 3, you have 6 abilities available to you. Range form, melee form, very, very strong. Aatrox again offers a lot. Healing, damage, crowd control. Again, another very great champion. Garen, super easy to play. Grasping Undying, very, very strong with some of the strong items at the moment, like Hullbreaker, Black Cleaver, Twin Guard, and then Camille, because she has a lot of kind of flexibility with how you can play her. You can join team fights, use your ultimate, or you can look to split push and try and escape with hookshot. Split pushing, she's very, very strong, and also in her team fights. Then Gwen is still sitting nice and juicy up in the S Plus tier, because even with her changes that happened. Sion did receive a little bit of a buff. I still think Sion is pretty decent. I still think Sion deserves to stay in the S tier. I don't think Sion is S Plus tier worthy. I think he just sits in the S tier and then just kind of does what he does. He's a tank. He's super annoying to deal with. He's very, very strong. I think that's a big part. You know, he's super tanky. He still does a lot of damage. He can join team fights from pretty much anywhere on the map. His ultimate is very, very good as well, and just offers a lot of crowd control for your team. So he's just a big, beefy frontline tank that can just tank up a lot of the damage and can protect your team from a lot of damage at the same time. Shen, really good. Split pushing is really good. Damage is really good. Can join team fights whenever he wants to with his ultimate, which is really strong. Gragas with kind of tanky Gragas top lane is still very, very strong. Or you could play 4 AP Gragas top lane. That can also work out very, very well. Darius still pretty good. Nothing really wrong with Darius. I think the only thing with Darius is that you kind of have to build Proto Belt, because he doesn't have a lot of mobility to try and land his hook. If he lands his hook, then you're pretty much guaranteed a kill. If he doesn't land his hook, then he's kind of a sitting duck in a way, and he can't really offer too much for the team. Irelia really strong, but super difficult to play, really hard to master. Irelia is actually next on my A to Z guide, so very excited to give her a try. I definitely it might take me some time to get used to Irelia and get used to, like, you know, tips and tricks and combos and everything for Irelia, but I think I'll be pretty decent with her. I think I'm pretty decent with most of the champions Set really, really strong. A lot of AD now in the early game, can offer a lot of pressure and deals a ton of damage in the early game because of the recent buffs he got in a few patches ago. Malphite super tanky, really, really easy to play. Riven, a lot of mobility, really, really strong. Urgot's still really good, and then Dr. Mundo is also still really, really good. Now, sitting in the A tier, Kennen Bus. I don't think Kennen Bus has done too much to Kennen. I don't think Kennen is going to be moving up a tier anytime soon. I think the problem with Kennen is that exhaust is so strong. When you go into your ultimate and when you try and join a team fight, at least one person on the enemy team has exhaust, and that pretty much negates most of your damage. I don't think you can bully out that well in the laning phase, depending on your matchup. I think a lot of bruisers can just jump on top of you and just out-trade you every single time. Second wind is very strong at the moment. Bow plating is very strong. So it's very difficult for Kennen to harass and get an advantage during laning phase. And like I said, when Kennen joins a team fight, exhaust pretty much negates all of the damage. Pantheon, pretty decent. Has a lot of trading power in the Baron lane, can get a pretty early lead and can join team fights whenever he wants to with his ultimate. Singe can do pretty well. I think Singe has a lot of playmaking potential with Protobelt and trying to flip enemy champions into your team. Yone, kind of decent in the Baron lane, doesn't do too well against the Bruiser matchups, but can outscale and can be very, very strong. Gray's pretty decent, so is Olaf. Both these champions are decent, kind of niche champions in a way. I think Grays and Olaf are definitely a lot better in the jungle, but can still be played in Baron lane. Teemo, maybe I'm underrating a little bit. I don't really see the power and the benefit of Teemo. Yes, his laning phase is very, very strong, but I just don't really see the power and benefits of Teemo when we get to later stages of the game. I just don't think Teemo offers too much. Tryndamere struggles a lot in laning phase. Can scale pretty decently, can do pretty well, but I don't think Tryndamere has the damage anymore to pretty much do anything. And Nasus as well. Again, Nasus is a champion that just takes way too long to scale. And we get to a point in the game where when Nasus finally gets enough stacks to do enough damage, everyone else on the enemy team is already stronger as well. And there's a lot better late game scaling champions. And then we have Kayle as well. I've actually seen a few Kayles kind of pop off recently with Kraken Slayer. So maybe I might change the rune to Kraken Slayer. But again, problem with Kayle, your early game is super, super weak. You could just get bullied and just pretty much lose out the game in the first 5 minutes. If you survive the first 5 minutes, if you get your range form, if you get to level 5, and if you can get to a decent spot in the game where you're really, really strong, then happy days. If you're not super far behind, then Kayle can be very, very strong. But again, it's that point in the early game, which is what makes Kayle pretty weak. Again, jungle, not really much has changed. I don't think anything has changed at all in the jungle. Looking at my notes with all my changes that have happened in this patch. Again, pretty much all the S+ tier champions have stayed the same. All the S tier champions, all the A tier champions, everything has pretty much stayed the same. You know, Wukong's still really strong. Aatrox, Lee Sin has a lot of power, especially in the early game. Kha'Zix with his scaling is still very, very strong. Olaf's still good. Diana, Evelynn, Gragas, all these champions are very, very strong. But you can pretty much play any champion in the S tier as well. I think any champion in the S tier can also be very strong. Obviously, we've got Gwen here as well. Gwen has stayed in the S tier. I was thinking of moving Gwen down to the A tier, but I think because of the buff to the third ability, it will help Gwen's jungle clear by quite a bit. And also, if you go Nashor's 2 first in the jungle as well, you get more attack speed from that. So I think it's pretty decent. I think Gwen jungle can still work out well. I think Gwen jungle, the great thing about that is that you're able to just go through the jungle, being able to easily clear through the jungle and kind of negate that early game pressure that you have with jungle Gwen. Because Gwen early game can be kind of weak sometimes against some of the bruisers in Baron lane. So early game Gwen in the jungle, you just power farm, you just get to your items. Anything else that I can call out? Fizz jungle actually got played in the Wild Rift League Asia today, which is kind of exciting. Hueva played it in the jungle, so I might do a video on Fizz jungle and how Hueva played it and his rune setup and everything as well. I think it's kind of exciting to see Fizz in the jungle. I think Fizz jungle is actually pretty decent. Ross Kane still really good, a lot stronger than Shadow Kane, just because of how the meta is at the moment. Loads of these other champions are very, very strong. You know, Shen jungle, power farming, ulting into a team fight whenever he wants to. Nautilus with full AP is still very strong. Lilia, Riven, Morgana, all these champions are still very, very strong. Like I said, jungle has not really changed too much. If there is any champions that you're curious about why they're in certain tiers, or if you think that certain champions deserve to be up or down a tier, then obviously please let me know down in the comments. This is a video that, because it's such a small patch, I'm not really going to go into a lot of detail with every single champion, because again, there's not really that many changes. And as we scroll down, again, not really much else has changed. Everyone in the A tier is pretty much the same. You know, Pyke's still there as well. I still think Pyke can decently work in the jungle, because they haven't changed any of his percentage damage to jungle camps. Amumu can still work as a tank jungler. You can still play Amumu 4 AP, Rammus, Zed, Camille. You know, all these champions can still pretty work. And then you go lower down, you see champions like Kayn. I think Shadow Kayn maybe deserves to be A now. I've seen a few Shadow Kayns pop off. Maybe Shadow Kayn deserves to be A. But for now, I'm leaving him in B, because I think he's just a lot weaker than Ross Kayn in general. But I think it kind of depends on the matchups and who you're playing against in terms of damage, in terms of champions. Jax, Warwick, and then Tryndamere, Master Yi down in C tier. Mid lane is where some things kind of get spicy. I've changed a few champions, but nothing too crazy. There were some champions that I was thinking of moving because of the buffs and the changes that happened to some of the mages in the mid lane. S+ tier pretty much stayed the same. Everything has stayed the same in the S+ tier. Everyone is still very, very strong in the S+ tier. Zoe's still insanely strong. Vex, Akali, Karma, super supported mid laner. Castin, late game beast. Yone, Diana. The two ADCs with Lucian and Corki are very, very strong. And Ahri. All of these champions are very, very strong. We move down into the S tier. We have Orianna, which received a really, really big buff this patch. I was tempted to move Orianna into S+ tier, but I think I'm going to have to play Orianna a little bit more to see what she's like. I'm not too sure if she's S+ tier worthy. I have played Orianna. I do have a video coming out on Orianna very, very soon. So I'm excited to, you know, play her again and try her out again, because she was one of my favorite champions in the mid lane in the early seasons of Wild Rift. So excited to see that she's getting a few buffs now. Ziggs is still in the S tier. I think the buff to the first ability of Ziggs is a huge mistake. I don't think the tower threshold means anything at all. I think it's just kind of whatever. That's not really a thing in solo queue anyway. Like, if you take the tower, then happy days with Satchel Charge, but again, it's not really a thing in solo queue. But a buff to first ability makes his laning phase a lot safer. He scales infinitely into the late game, does a stupid amount of damage. So yeah, this champion is going to be very, very strong. And pretty much everything else has stayed the exact same in S tier as well. Irelia, Katarina, both very, very strong, but difficult to play. Zed's still really good. Galio, TF, Yasuo, Jace, Gragas, you know, all these champions are still very, very good. And Fizz as well. You know, Fizz is also very, very good. We moved down in terms of the tiers. I have moved Lux up into A tier. I think Lux's buff was insane. I honestly think Lux's buff was probably the craziest buff that I think I've seen in a very, very long time. I don't know if you play Aerie mid lane. Maybe you play Electrocute. You can play Electrocute mid lane if you want to. Aerie just gives you that little bit of shielding power if you want to, because that shield going down in cooldown by 2 seconds at every single rank is just absolutely disgusting. It's so crazy how many times you can use that ability now and save yourself, or maybe even save your team, which will help Lux and her team when she's played in mid lane, because you're not, even though you're not building supportive in the mid lane, you're still building a little bit of ability haste and a lot of damage, so your shield power is still going to be very, very strong. Veigar received a pretty nice buff in this patch. Again, I was tempted to move Veigar up into S tier. I'm not too sure if he does deserve to be an S tier or not. I played a few games of Veigar. I think, again, the one weakness with Veigar is that he can be very, very vulnerable. If anyone jumps on top of Veigar, yes, your cage can kind of save you, but at the same time, it kind of doesn't, because they can still walk around the cage and still be really, really annoying. But if you catch anyone, you can pretty much one-shot them, do a lot of damage, and he can still be absolutely insane. I think the cooldown of the ultimate going down by like 10 seconds is really, really huge for Veigar. The damage numbers didn't get changed too much. So yeah, I was tempted to move Veigar up into S tier, but again, I think Veigar kind of deserves to stay in A tier for now. Same with Kennen, even though the buff, Kennen still deserves to stay in A tier. Running Soul, Singed, Echo, Akshan, Pyke are pretty decent. Akshan's really, really good. Akshan is very, very, yeah, I say very difficult, but kind of difficult to play. I think there's a lot of one-trick Akshan players that are very, very good at the champion. That could be like S+ tier, but in terms of just generally as a champion, kind of difficult to play, but it's still very, very strong. Seraphine, I didn't move up because pretty much her buffs were mainly to support Seraphine. I don't think Seraphine is still that good in mid lane. Maybe the buff to the third ability helps her a little bit, but I don't think too much. And then they only buff the healing to the second ability, which again doesn't really mean too much. It's only really a benefit with support Seraphine. Then you have champions like Brand, Annie, and Morgana that can just get really punished in mid lane and can be very weak. And then you have Kayle down in C tier. Onto the duo lane. I haven't taken out the AP champions yet. I'm still tempted to take out the AP champions because, yeah, I mean, not a lot of people play AP champions anyway in the duo lane. Let me know what you think. I'd love to get your thoughts on AP champions in general in the duo lane. Should I get rid of them? Should I keep them? What do you think I should do? Because like I said, I'm thinking of just getting rid of AP champions in general in duo lane, even though they can get played. I don't think they're a lot of benefit to a lot of people because not a lot of people play duo lane mages. And if you do pick it, a lot of people in solo queue doesn't really understand the concept of AP mages down the duo lane. Like I played Orianna duo lane and I played Veigar duo lane. I had one person pick Master Yi mids only because I picked Orianna duo lane. Again, just completely trolled. So, you know, there's kind of that concept behind it where it's like, I'm recommending to pick AP mages mid lane, but at the same time, it's not really good because people in solo queue don't really understand it. I would love to like educate people on AP mages in duo lane, but it's just very difficult to obviously get it all out there and get it all kind of sorted in a way. So the only champion that I've moved up is Orianna. Honestly, I was thinking of moving Orianna up into S tier as well in the duo lane. I played Orianna duo lane, as I mentioned. It was very strong. I think the buffs of Orianna are absolutely insane. You still got Lux here as well, which obviously received the buff, which is really good for duo lane Lux. Ziggs as well is there, even with his changes. Still really strong. Again, S+ tier champions pretty much the same. Lucian, Tristana, Caitlyn, Kai'Sa, Vayne, all these champions are still very strong. Samira, Draven, very difficult to play, but very strong. Corki, still pretty decent. Xayah, Ezreal, Varus, Zeri, Jhin, all these champions are still really good. I still really enjoy playing them. Twitch is a weird one. I played Twitch a few times now. Twitch, if you scale and if you do pretty decent in the mid to late game, then it can be pretty good. But other than that, I don't think the champion's really that good in general. I think can just get punished a lot during the laning phase. Jinx pretty much needs Lulu every single time, or Yuumi. Other than that, Jinx doesn't really do too much. I tried to play Jinx again a few times, but without a Lulu or without a Yuumi or anyone, it's very difficult to play Yuumi. Ashe, more a supportive carry in the duo lane. Again, not really too strong. Miss Fortune, again, kind of decent, can work out. Then you got Karma there as well. Akshan, obviously in duo lane, not as good as mid lane Akshan. And then you got Senna down there, which is farming Senna. With like Brand, Veigar, Seraphine, Morgana, all these other mages. Again, it's difficult to kind of talk about the AP mages in the bot lane as well because hardly anyone plays it in solo queue. So I'm kind of basing it on a sense of how strong the champion is in general, and that's why none of the AP mages are in S tier, because just AP mages in general are just not really that strong. I'm honestly thinking of getting rid of them. Let me know down in the comments again. I'll probably put a comment down asking what you think of duo lane mages. Now this is the big tier. Now this is the big role that got changed. There's quite a few changes that are happening here. I mean, first off, you're seeing in the S+ tier, I've added Lulu and Yuumi. Now, these two champions are very difficult to kind of understand in a way why they are S+ tier, but I kind of explain it as best I can. The thing is with Lulu and Yuumi is both these champions just offer so much in terms of healing, shielding, and damage. Lulu, for example, you can just pretty much shield any champion in the game. You get a huge amount of shielding. They also get the bonuses when you get items like Ardent Sensor and also Starflood Flowing Water, which yes doesn't benefit yourself and doesn't let yourself carry, but will benefit your team. All you need to do is play, you know, duo queue or something like that with a player that you trust. Play Lulu and you can just shield them, ulti them, and just do insane work. Not only that, but Lulu also has Polymorph, which is probably one of the strongest crowd control abilities in the game. Also has a decent amount of laning phase pressure, has the ultimate as well, which can give your team a huge massive health. Again, all you really need is to understand who is going to be the carry on your team, and once you understand who the carry is on your team, just follow them around with Lulu, keep giving them the buffs, keep giving them the shielding and the healing and the ultimate, and then she'll be really strong. Every single game in solo queue, I always ban Lulu or Yuumi, or well, you know, both of them. If Yuumi's banned, I always ban Lulu. If Lulu's banned, I always ban Yuumi. If both of them are banned, then I go down to like Gwen, Yone, champions like that. But these two supports can carry games, especially Yuumi as well. Again, identify who your carry is on the team, stay on that person, give them the extra buffs, give them the healing, and that champion will carry. That champion will definitely carry. So I think Lulu and Yuumi definitely deserve to be in S+ tier. I think these two champions always get banned in pretty much every single game right now, in solo queue, duo queue, legendary queue as well. You know, even things like legendary queue as well. Lulu and Yuumi always get banned every single game I play. It's always Lulu banned, Yuumi banned. I've barely played any games of Yuumi because every time I try and get a chance of playing Yuumi, I can just never play her when I get, you know, put in the support role and I have first pick. So yeah, that's why I've moved them two champions up into S+ tier. Obviously, Karma and Nami still stay in S+ tier because these two champions are still very, very strong, especially Karma with amount of poke damage and amount of crowd control that she offers. Nami as well with her healing and also outplay potential with her bubble and her tidal wave can also be very, very good. Thresh received a little bit of a nerf in the most recent patch. I still think Thresh is very, very good. I definitely felt the early game damage nerf though. I played against the Thresh, I think it was yesterday, and they used their flay, they used their auto attacks, and I definitely didn't take as much damage as what I did before. Maybe because he didn't have the passive up. I'm just trying to remember. Actually, maybe the Thresh auto attacked the minion first and then auto attacked me afterwards. Because that's the thing, is like they nerfed the damage to the flay with the bonus magic damage. Now you don't get the bonus magic damage the whole time. You have to wait a few seconds out of combat, and then your next auto attack gives you that bonus magic damage. That's why most of the time Threshers like to play aggressive at level 1 and go for the auto attack, go for the flay to proc aftershock and to get a lot of auto attack damage down. Because most of the time you don't want to auto attack minions. There's a little tip for you there. And then I've put Lux up into S tier as well. I honestly think Lux support is broken. I have a video coming out soon for Lux support. I honestly think this champion is completely broken. Very, very strong with protect enchant, with the shielding. This champion is absolutely insane. You definitely need to try out Lux support this patch with a protect enchant. Because the buffs that happen to Lux basically make it now so the shield duration lasts about 3 seconds to 4 seconds. The cooldown now on Lux's second ability is 4 seconds. And when you stack ability haste with Hunter Genius, with Luna's Echo, Starfall Flow Water, Harmonic Echo, you just stack ability haste. That means when the duration ends on Lux's second ability, you could just use the ability again. You can just use the ability over and over again, and you're refreshing the shield every single time. Like I said, on top of that, Protect Enchant is very strong as well to give your team pretty much a whole team-wide insane amount of shielding. Like I said, this champion is insanely strong and deserves to be moved back up into S tier. Other than that, all the champions are still here. You know, Ashe support is still really, really strong. Senna support is a great carry. Galio, Norsus, Alistar are great tanks with Gragas and Leona. Jan is still there, is not the best enchanter support, but can still work very well. Pyke as a carry support is very, very strong as well. Actually got Pyke gameplay coming out soon, which is going to be quite exciting. And yeah, I was thinking of moving Rakan back up into S tier. I'm not too sure what to think about Rakan at the moment. I still think Rakan does a lot of damage. I think a lot of people are going into a more tanky Rakan build now. I'm seeing a lot more Aftershock with Imperial Mandate, and Imperial Mandate gives you that little bit of extra damage. They're going like Imperial Mandate, Aftershock, or even Electrocute, Imperial Mandate into like kind of tankiness after that. So maybe I have to kind of adapt and kind of play Rakan with that Imperial Mandate build to see what it's like, see how it goes. Seraphine, even after her buff, I still think she's only an A tier. I still think Seraphine can be very, very strong, especially with the double shield now on the second ability, and also with the healing buff as well. It can be pretty decent. Also, she does a little bit more damage now with her third ability. Sona pretty decent, still a lot of healing, still a lot of scaling. Brom still pretty decent. Soraka's still really good as well. And then you have Shen, Nasus, and Sep. These are kind of unique champions with Blitzcrank and Morgana sitting down in C tier. That's pretty much everything. All the rundown of all the roles. As I mentioned, not really too many changes. The main changes were definitely to the support role and also in the mid lane, or kind of talking about the supports and the roles in the mid lane. So yeah, giving that a try and seeing what that's like. Again, if you do want to enter the giveaway, you can go onto the website as well. There is a link up here as well. If you want to head over to my Twitter or YouTube, you can enter into the giveaway. And as always, if you want to check out the website, link is down in the description. I always update the builds on this website. Like I said, 4.2 is going to be a huge patch for myself and also for the website, because we've got quite a few exciting changes happening on the website. So it's going to be really, really cool. There's going to be a lot more exciting stuff. And yeah, I'm just really excited for new patch. I think new patch is definitely going to bring a lot of excitement for me. Going to help me with my motivation, I think, back into the game as well with the AD carry changes. Yeah, really, really exciting to see what happens. But as always, I appreciate you watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the tier list. Like I said, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know if you think I should remove or keep the AP mages in the duo lane. And as always, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next Wild Rift video. Peace.